to It Figures. Now, I am on here today to talk to you about an Ultimate Collector series that I got way back in December of the Snowspeeder from Star Wars. Now, the Snowspeeder has always been one of my favorite ships. I don't really know why everybody always loves the Millennium Falcon, or they love the TIE Fighters, or whatever, but for whatever reason, I've always loved the Snowspeeder. So finally, when they came out with an Ultimate Collector series of Snowspeeder, I was like, oh my god, I have to have it. So finally I got it for Christmas last year, and just finished it not too long ago. And I was moving it from the back of the basement to over here, and guess what? I dropped it. Yes, it flew into about 27 different parts. Because this thing is so fragile that it's hard to pick up without something falling off of it. This is the base for it, and you can see this little peg up here. I'll show it in detail a little bit later. But it's a little L-shaped peg. This is what it sits on. And I was trying to get it into the peg, and it slipped off, it hit the table, it fell off the table, and it exploded everywhere. Now, I've never had that happen to any of my Legos. I've never dropped a Lego. I have never had that happen. So this one in particular was made very flimsy, not solid like some of the other ships. Like some of the other ships that I have, like even the Slave 1. Slave 1 is actually, even though it's a big ship, it's a little fragile, but it's not terrible. But most of the stuff I get is pretty solid. This one, yeah, not so much. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to attempt to put this thing back together so I can review it for you. So I'm not going to show me putting it back together because it might take me a while. But I just want to let you know what happened to this review. And I was going to review it like weeks before. And yeah, now that I got it put together, it's been delayed. So I'm going to go ahead and try to do my reconstruction of the ship and see how it goes. Alright, so here is my review for the Snowspeeder. Okay, I mean, this is so horrible, so terrible. I went to go start this review, and the wing fell off. Literally, the wing just fell off when I started this review. Because the stand that it's supposed to be sitting on actually broke off as well. So I was unable to put it on the stand, and I had to set it on the table so I could get it back on the stand, and literally the wing fell off. So you can see the interior of the wing here. Let me point this out first for the review. Okay. So the way these wings are put on here is just a terrible design. A terrible design, Lego. Hopefully, if you're listening to me, it's a terrible design. Yes, that is a rubber band. That is correct. That's what you're seeing there. That is actually a rubber band that holds on the lower half of the wing. So the upper half of the wing attaches with this, and it attaches to these little bolts here. And that's the only thing that holds the wing on. So if you set it down on the floor like it is now, or set it on a table, it will literally fall apart on you. So let me go ahead and try to put this thing back together and attempt to get this review done. Okay, the wing is back on. And first let me say this about the Snowspeeder. I want to say this, it's actually my favorite Star Wars ship. And as weird as that sounds, it actually is. I've always loved the Snowspeeder. It seems like it's like the race car of the Star Wars ships. I know everybody always goes instantly to the Millennium Falcon or, you know, something else, but I've always loved this. I've always loved the Snowspeeder. And the thing I love about it so much is the design. I think it's such a great design for a ship. It was original, it had moving parts to it. When you were watching the movies, flaps were opening up and things were moving, and it was such a cool looking ship, and it was piloted by 2 people. I don't know. Just the whole thing about it, even when I was growing up, the toy, I loved the plastic Snowspeeder ship. Just absolutely loved this design. However, as cool as this looks, and it does look cool, don't get me wrong, when this entire thing is together, like it is finally, it's a cool design. It's a cool ship, and it's very awesome looking. And it's very big too, so yeah, I'm cutting out my backdrop here because it's not even long enough to show this huge ship to you. So this thing is gigantic. Okay, so first off, when I was moving this over here to review it for you guys, it fell and it hit the floor, and this thing exploded into 100 different pieces. Both the wings flew off, the whole back of it flew off, every other piece on this thing flew off. The front of it flew off, and I almost knocked the completely thing off here. The whole thing exploded. So it's been sitting in pieces for like the last 6 months. And I've been done with the thing for a long time. And it was one of those, you know, it took me a while to finally just get the energy and the time to put the thing back together. And there's still pieces missing. I don't even know where they went to. I mean, there's a lot of pieces I just had to just not put back in here because they're gone. I mean, they literally hit the floor in this basement, and they're just, who knows where they went. They just exploded into the dark abyss that the Legos go to when they hit the floor. So this design is a great design. I mean, the design of the ship is a great design. The way they actually made this design for the Lego version is a nightmare. It is literally a nightmare. While it was fun to put together, don't get me wrong, it was a fun time to put this thing together, but it was so difficult because it's so fragile. It's like trying to put an egg together with tiny little parts of an egg, and if you actually put the wrong thing, the egg will drop and it'll shatter, and then you have to put the whole egg back together. That's what this is. This is like the egg of Legos. But when it is together, and it is holding together and not falling apart, it looks awesome. It really does. It's a really freaking cool ship. And this is one of the parts back here that fell apart. And one of the things I really like about this vent here is there's a whole bunch of stuff going on inside the vent. And that's some of the stuff that actually disappeared when I hit the floor. So not all of it I found, but you can see how they have like all this little detail inside the vent. One of the other really cool features on the Snowspeeder here is the flaps on the back. There's two on each side, and they both do the same thing. They actually pull down. So you can actually pull those down, and they're almost like on hydraulics, as you can see here. It's a really nice design. This is one of the things that broke off too. But yeah, I really like how they did that, because in the movie you can kind of see them go down and go up. Now my big thing too was this. This opened up when it was flying around on Hoth. These little flaps here opened up. So they made this actually pretty interesting how it works. Is they have, you know, the thrusters back here, the whatever you want to call those, and you turn this and that actually opens up. And if you can see the inside of it, they also have a lot of gears and things that would, you know, would have been in that, you can see how the gears are turning and opens it up and closes it. That would have been inside of there. So it does look like it's sort of like a compartment that has a lot of engineering and things that go along with it. But that is a really cool feature here on the Snowspeeder. Also, on top here, on the very back, is the harpoon gun. It does not shoot, which is kind of disappointing. They could have had something maybe shoot out of it, but it does go up and down, and it's very delicate. I was about to fall apart when I'm messing with it here. It goes back and forth, and it does go up and down, so that's a really nice touch. Along the wings has a bunch of stickers. This one here was a sticker. That's a sticker. Nothing's really printed on. This, you know, these are all little stickers, and they got the sticker up there in the window. So it makes it a little bit more realistic with the whatever that's supposed to be. I don't know if it's supposed to be writing or what it is. But yeah, there was not too many stickers on here, but there was enough. These vents back here, or whatever you want to call those back here where the flaps open, those are also stickers. You go down front here, that is a sticker there on the window, and followed by some orange Legos, followed by the sticker here on the front. Now the cockpit does open up, but the weird thing about this, and I kind of like it, but I also kind of don't like it, is the fact that it's an oversized cockpit, which means the Lego guys don't fit in here. I mean, it comes with two Lego pilots, not even Luke Skywalker, but the seats are way too big for them to fit in. So there's a lot of stickers in here too, and I like the cockpit. I think the cockpit is actually pretty cool. They have, you know, the side here where there's whatever they are, you know, electronics and whatnot. And the seat is a double seat. There's a seat here and there's a seat on the back. So that's what the pilot would look like if he was sitting there. He looks like a little kid sitting in the cockpit. It's an oversized chair. So here is the front of the cockpit. As you can see, there's some sort of like navigational system they got going on there. If you move the gun back here, this actually moves. So if you move the gun left and right, the navigational computer, or the whatever you want to call that, you know, where they're going to be shooting AT-ATs and whatnot, also moves in a cockpit. So down below here, like all of the Ultimate Collector series, it shows the ship and, you know, the T-47 Airspeeder is what it's called. Snowspeeder, what most people call it. and gives you the specs and everything. The stand that actually holds this in place is one of the reasons why it's so bad, is because it can lean, and it's built that way that you can have it straight up and down, and you can see this little mechanism here. If you turn it sideways, the whole thing leans, and it actually will come up off of the you can see it's coming up off of the table while it's leaning, because all the weight is over on that side, and it's just not a good design. It comes with 2 minifigures. Neither one of them is Luke, so I don't really understand why that is, but they do have some nice helmets. They have the helmets, they have some battle damage on top of them, some scuffs and everything, and he has like sort of a darker helmet than the other guy, and he's holding some binoculars to, you know, watch the AT-ATs. And on the back he does have some graphics here, pretty well detailed. It would have been cool if the goggles would have been part of the helmet, but they're actually painted on with the face. Here is the other guy, and he has a white helmet on, as you can see. It's a nice helmet, and pretty much, I think he's pretty much the same exact graphics on his person as the other guy is, and I believe it's almost the same face. He has a happy face, and he has like the oh my god face, so it's pretty much the same image on both sides. So it comes down to this. It's a cool design. I mean, it's like I said, it's one of my favorite Star Wars ships, and I love the design of it. But it's a terrible design of how they actually built it. The way they constructed this is a nightmare. It really is. It will fall apart if you breathe too hard on it. And even though it's really cool when it's sitting on a shelf and nobody's around it, and nobody touches it or walks past it, and you know, if you walk past it too fast, it might fall off the stand and shatter into 1,000 pieces. So because of that, I cannot recommend the Snowspeeder from Lego. As much as it bothers me to say that, and as cool as design it is once it's done, it's just not a well-made model. It is just not a well-made Lego ship. I've had 2 of them so far. I've had the TIE Fighter, and I've also had the Slave One, and both of those were a pleasure to build. Both of those were a lot of fun to make, and you know, and they held up, and you can actually move them around without being afraid of them falling apart. Now look at the front of this, for example. I mean, this is how they did the front of it, and if I touch this, it'll probably fall apart. But this is literally how they did it. You can see it just comes apart here. And I don't know of any other way they could have done it, but I think it's like a ball joint. So you have to kind of put it up here for it to, and it doesn't attach to anything, it just sits there. Just sits there like that. So if that gets bumped, both of these will fall off very easily. So that's what I'm talking about. The whole thing is just like held together literally by rubber bands and ball jointed areas that just butt up against each other with no way of actually attaching to each other. Now, it does have a landing gear, one landing gear on the bottom that does fold out, which I'm not going to show you, because if I did, I would drop this probably, or if I flipped it over, the wings would fall off, and I would have another disaster on my hands, and it doesn't really do anything. It's one little thing that pops out the bottom of it, and you can set it on there, but it doesn't really set that well on there, so I wouldn't recommend that either. Overall, it's still one of my favorite Star Wars ships. I love the Snowspeeder. I just did not love this model of the Snowspeeder. And it looks great. I mean, it looked great on the shelf, and I will always remember the nightmare it was to put this thing together. And you shouldn't remember that. You should remember the fun it was to put a Lego set together. That's the whole point of building a Lego set, is to have fun and not be frustrated with every other move and every other thing that you're doing. And one thing, and I guess it's a lot of the Star Wars ships are like this. This entire wing was exactly the same build as the other side of the wing. So when you built this, and it's a pretty complex design here, you had to turn around and rebuild the entire thing again for the other side. There's literally no difference between this side and the other side. So, and again, your repetition is, of course, that way on all Star Wars ships just about. But overall, yeah, it's a cool ship, and if you like the Snowspeeder, and if you have a lot of patience, absolutely go out and get it. But if you are like me and don't want something that's going to fall apart when you just look at it, stay away from this one. That's the only Lego set so far that I would not recommend that you buy, unfortunately. But fortunately, it's November now, and we are starting up our reviews once again. Horror Month took a big chunk out of It Figures. I've been working 3 months over there on my other channel, Box Office Maniacs, for Horror Month, non-stop. We did 31 reviews in 31 days. So if you want to go check that out, you can. But for now, It Figures, once again, is back this month. And I have a stack of, literally I have an entire stack of new figures to bring you guys. I'm really excited to bring them to you. If you're new to the site, make sure you hit that bell, hit that subscribe button, because we review Legos on here, we review horror figures on here, we review regular action figures, die-cast figures, you name it, we review it on here. That's why it's called It Figures. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.